here to break down what was kind of a frustrating game. But a great win, nonetheless. It was, one of those games where
Bobby loved this game.
Yeah, you felt like you had it it felt like the Celtics always had them at arm's length and just couldn't close. Definitely a lot of defensive lapses. Magic seemed to be winning most of the loose ball fights.
Yeah.
They stayed in there. Celtics were down. They're lucky to escape this one with a victory. Obviously, some great stuff from Hayward and Jason Tatum, but we'll get first thoughts from you guys, and then we'll kind of go around the horn here.
Well, so the Celtics clinched the 3 seed earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And, you're down 5 with 45 seconds to go, more or less here. Like, this was a game that they could have just let slide, I feel like, and it would have all been fine. But instead, they dug in. You had Hayward making crucial plays, beginning of the first, end of the fourth quarter. Marcus Smart finally bounced back with one of his games. And, we saw what Tatum did there in the last 45 seconds and then in the overtime. I thought they came out and strong-armed this game from a team that had everything to play for. So I love what I saw from this one. I thought, we saw Toronto just throw a game away because they're kind of stuck in 2 the other day.
Yeah.
The Celtics did the opposite here, I feel like.
Right. This kind of felt, just wait, let's get your thoughts. But this really felt like almost, a playoff sort of type game. It was a short-ish rotation. They really played to win. You didn't have KEMBA in OT because he expended his minutes limit. But they really, you're right, Bobby, sold out for this one. Yeah, Josue?
And I like that. I like Brad Stevens' approach to this one. And he's continuing to do that. And clearly it's not just about the opponent, because here he is doing it again, shortening his rotation.
Right.
And, of course, we're seeing another side of Tatum, right? I mean, the beginning of this whole thing, we saw literally the worst game we've ever seen from Tatum. We saw give me the ball because I can feel it from deep Tatum when he scored 8 3-pointers the other day or last week. And then now we see take over Tatum, playoff Tatum. That's the Tatum this team is going to need, but he also has the supporting cast. Kemba Walker struggled in this one offensively, but he came up big in other places. And then you had Jaylen Brown come up big and Gordon Hayward. Man, this is one of those teams, I guess, right? I guess they joined the what was it, the Timberwolves that one year when he dropped 30+
every time.
Yeah, this was probably a top 5 Hayward game.
Let's stick on Tatum for a minute, because Hayward was great, and he was great all game, and he was definitely the Celtics' best player start to finish. But Tatum, we talked about it last game because they played that perfect game against Toronto where the ball's whipping around. There was no ISO stuff. And that's, when they're doing that and they're firing on all cylinders, plus playing that kind of defense, they're really tough to beat. But this was one of those games where they needed the buckets. And this is where we say a guy like Tatum is invaluable. You have to have that guy. And when it wasn't really working for Kemba there, you needed buckets late, and you just ran it through Tatum. And he scores the last 5 in OT, hits a big one the last 5 in regulation, hits a big one in OT there. And that was it. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, that's a superstar stretch from him that we've been waiting for. He channels that inner ability to not only be able to get the shot where he's all off balance and a guy's chasing him on the perimeter there, but he makes a defensive stop in between, and then he brings it all the way down and sets himself on the baseline. Like it didn't even matter what other 4 guys were out there for that stretch, because he just set everything up for himself. Now, Kemba did have the offensive rebound. That was huge, but right. Tatum set everything up himself otherwise.
Yeah, and that was it. Give him the ball and get out of the way, and that's – and there are times when you need that. And, he got stuck with FULTZ there, the fadeaway.
FULTZ was awesome in this one.
FULTZ was great, but that fadeaway, that he hit over him, the little turnaround with 3-point-something seconds left, what ultimately sent it into OT, there wasn't even a hand in his face. That was just a clean look. So, that was just tough to stop.
Yeah, no question. I think this is a great lesson for the Celtics to go through, because this is going to happen in the postseason. Really interesting for a team like the Celtics that have guys that can step up and drop 20+. But then there's going to be that point in the game where, well, who gets the ball last? It's still going to be Jason Tatum. And I think tonight confirmed that. That's our go-to guy. Yeah, Hayward was going off. Sure, Jaylen Brown was really getting going, especially in the open and one-on-one situations. But when the going gets tough, when it comes down to it, it's up to Tatum. And if Tatum wants to shoot that ball, it's all on him. It's up to him to make that decision when he wants to pass it off and when he says, look, it's my time to take over. And that's exactly what we saw against the Magic.
I do want to talk about Marcus Smart a little bit too.
We're going to get there, Bobby, but I'm putting that behind Hayward. I want you to hit Hayward first because Hayward had that monster game.
I was going to say, because Joe Sway made me think about the ball needs to be in Tatum's hand during crunch time, but who took that first big three to set it up?
Yeah.
The Kemba got.
All right, go for it. You want
I mean, five straight points, though? Like, that's what I mean. Like, he could have easily just deferred to Hayward again or to Jaylen Brown, but he said, no, I want this ball, and Stevens is giving him that permission to make that decision.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just saying, in some situations, Marcus Smart's going to put his eye on the basket and just go. There's going to be no stopping him.
It always freaks me out a little bit because you did have that one sequence where every once in a while it just something clicks in his brain and he's like, Marcus going to go now, and he just decides.
He got back to that.
No matter what happens, I'm going to, and he pounds it into the lane and he posts up and he shoots off balance stuff and he had that miss and luckily got that loose ball back and the Celtics retained possession. But there's a couple times there where it's just like you see those little flashes of bad Marcus and you're like, oh,
you had all of that today, and in overtime too. He loses the ball completely on the first possession and Magic score the other way, and then he comes back and steals the miss from Vucevic inside.
Yeah,
like
it was a full ride, Right.
Yeah, like so we haven't talked about Smart in a couple games, so that's why I want to bring him up. Like he wasn't shooting a lot the last couple of nights. Like he was very restrained. I felt like he was kind of trying to calm himself down a little bit the last couple of games. Here it was back to that experience you have with him where he's jacking shots like crazy. The defense doesn't know what to do, so all of a sudden he's slashing down the middle, and they're like, is he actually going to go for it or what? Like, no, 6 years in, and teams still don't know how to defend this guy because he's so unpredictable. And he turns into a 9-assist game. So, like, this Smart is back, and what I found interesting that Stevens did in this is he kind of left the bench rotations to Hayward and put Smart in with the starters a little bit, and I thought it worked well.
Yep. Yeah, Marcus was good, and again, they needed him. They certainly, as we said, Marcus ran the gamut, but they needed him late because, as we said, Kemba, he definitely stretched out his minutes in this one, but he was super ineffective.
Yeah.
Really rough game for him. 4 points, 1 of 9 field goals, but he did play the full 32. Did not play at all in overtime. You're going to have these games, but you don't like to see it.
How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it, Joe Slay?
Yeah, I mean, again, he started to do other things to try to make, better of his situation. And honestly, that offensive rebound, I think he sort of made it up, because of the rest of the teammates that picked up the slack for him. And listen, minute restriction or not, Kemba Walker's been phenomenal in the bubble, especially
he's looked great. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's earned himself this shooting dud.
Well, sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. Kemba doesn't. I'm trying to remember early season stat lines. Kemba doesn't strike me as that guy who shoots his way out of trouble all the time. Sometimes he's off, and he just kind of like, all right, It's like, but this wasn't a 2 for 18 Tatum game from before. It was. It's not falling. He took a few shots. Things weren't going, so he did some of the other things, which is almost better than him to just try to continue to force the issue and jam it into the lane and lose the ball and, play out of control or trying to manufacture stuff. He takes what the game gives him, and today it just wasn't falling for him.
Yeah, we've talked about this already. He's producing a ton from behind the line, and he's been phenomenal there. I want to say coming into today, he was probably 50% from three in the bubble coming into this, so he's getting everything from outside, but you see it again here. When he gets in the lane and the defense collapses on him, he's able to get passes out, and I thought he had a decent passing game, as Joe Sway talked about. Like, he made up for things in other ways. My concern to some degree, though, is that in crunch time, we're going to lean on Tatum, but if the ball is in Walker's hand, is he able to get to the basket if they're really trapping him on the three-point line?
Yeah, that's the problem.
He hasn't shown it. Like, he can't get in there and score like Isaiah used to.
No, right. He's getting in there, but he's getting swallowed up. So, right.
He sort of, I've noticed he tried to take advantage, obviously, in transition. That's when you see him finish. But that's a good point, Bobby. I've noticed that too.
He's almost better off at this point kind of getting in there and settling for the mid-range because he's not able to take it all the way through. A lot of times,
right. Especially when he curls, when he does that on the pick and roll, instead of going, he curls up and gets that little like mid range.
And that seems to be more right. Exactly. Let's get to Gordon. We didn't talk about him off the bat, but I mean, he was obviously the story all game. Early on, Jaylen didn't have a great shooting night. Tatum was fine, but Hayward was it. for them. And we've talked about it on and off the whole time about X factors. If you're counting on Jalen and JAYSON being on an elevated level and a fully healthy KEMBA Walker, really the X factor is HAYWARD. If you get anything close to this, I mean, this was a next level performance. But if he's playing consistently like this, and again, when everyone's going and he's going, it's almost impossible to stop. But a game like this where not everything is clicking, you need that next man up sort of thing. And when HAYWARD's playing this way, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and when we see a game like Cantor +7, some of these guys off the bench that had great success, it was HAYWARD rotating in with these guys and able to mitigate some of the defensive lapses that unit had early in the game. Cantor, same old story, but HAYWARD's in there hitting shots on the other end and ultimately makes that unit a big plus. So this is what I've wanted to see so long for this team is HAYWARD on the ball, making the plays with that second unit. He's still going to start the game. It's all about the rotations throughout, and I think Steven finally hit.
Oh, no.
Bobby, my man, we lost your mic for a second. You still there?
Hello.
We got you. Keep going.
You're
good. Got me back now? All right.
Yeah,
so I was saying, you hit a good mark between the starters and the bench in this one. The rotations were great, and ultimately, HAYWARD's able to come out in the second half and, steal this game throughout the third quarter as things are close.
Yeah. So let's talk again about the rotations. It is interesting because at this point, it's pretty clear that Rob Williams has pushed ahead of Cantor on the depth chart at this point. He's playing ahead of him. So that's an interesting development. That right out of the gate in the bubble, we didn't think that was going to happen, and then all of a sudden it did. And then you had Cantor, kind of did not play coach's decision. And now Williams is that first big off the bench. He's coming in the first quarter of games here. Mm-hmm. I don't think this is experimenting at this point. I think this happened. I think it's real.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you, John. Halfway through the first quarter, I love what Brad Stevens did today against the Magic with keeping KEMBA in there. So you had KEMBA, Marcus, and Robert Williams. We had the lob right from the beginning. What was it, 5 seconds into when he checked into the game? Yeah. The lob for Marcus Smart, and then on the very next offensive possession, there's KEMBA Walker finding him down low. That's great. That's the energy that the second unit needs. And then you put HAYWARD back out there to start the second quarter with those guys, and that should be enough to stop the bleeding or hold on throughout stretches of games when you have to rest your starters and TATUM especially.
Well, Bobby, let me ask you, what, if anything, at this point are we concerned with Williams when he comes in? Because we've to the point of it being almost parody. We've talked ad nauseum about what we're concerned with when Cantor comes in, but when Rob comes in at this point, what are we worried about, if anything?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd probably say, so he's taking these mid-range shots, right? It's the shot selection thing. And I really am picking for Straws here because he's been so solid.
That's what I mean. I'm trying to find...
He's facing second units, so he's not getting dominated by these other big men. Like, if he was in there against a BAM or something, I'd be worried about that. But, it's probably the shot selection. And it's been great. Like, I can't even really complain about that.
He's shooting like 90% in the bubble.
Yeah, and even the couple mid-rangers that he's jacked have gone in.
Yeah.
So, like, we haven't seen a ton of them, right? And so this is limited, but rookie year, he's a +31 per 100.
Yeah.
This year, he's +33 per 100. So, like, when this guy's out there, he's been so effective.
Right.
And we wrote him off early, and all of a sudden, like, I'm watching the game today, and I'm saying, if this is the Rob Williams they're going to get, like, they are by and far the second best team or maybe best team in the East. Like, this has just changed the game for them, this guy appearing off the bench. Because he does so much in limited minutes. Like, I'm seeing this, little banner we have down here. 15 minutes, that's like he just comes in and it's 2 buckets, like nothing.
Yeah, and that's that's the thing. It's house money. It's cashing in a
Can
lottery.
You think of anything, Josue? Like, I can't think of anything.
No, the one thing I have to say though, I do think that this is Brad Stevens doing this. How am I trying to put this right now? Okay, this is, in my opinion, Brad Stevens is giving him rope with this. Getting out there and doing the best you can with limited playing time. But if he doesn't pan out, like I think there's still a short leash on him, right? Like if you put Robert Williams out there, and whether it's picking up fouls or if he's just getting burned down low, or they have him on an island defending, a top shooting guard out in the perimeter, then you'll see Brad make that switch when he needs to with Cantor. Like, I don't think Robert Williams permanently has this job quite yet. It's just sort of
he's getting there.
It's fair, but that's the thing is you're talking about him getting burned, and really the only place you're worried about him hurting you, when with the offense being as efficient as it's been, really the only place you're worried about him hurting you is on the defensive end. And even if he does do some things there that you don't love, he gets a little over aggressive, falls for the fakes, gets a big down low who's just a little too tough for him, and he's not able to defend him straight up. What's the alternative? The alternative is Cantor or Grant Williams, neither of whom is going to do a better job on that end of the floor. So that's the thing, is you're really mainly concerned with him offensively at a time when you're struggling for buckets with that second unit. But defensively, whatever you do to replace him, if he isn't doing great, might be worse. And that's the thing. That's why I think he's in there, is he's able to hold his own offensively, at least be a lob threat, and right now I think Cantor is, as we keep talking about surviving the Cantor minutes all the time, it's always this white knuckle ride because you're afraid of some 9-2 run the other way and completely change the momentum of the game and blow a really hard fought first quarter lead when he finally does come in there.
Yeah, and the one thing Cantor has on him is the boards. Like, I know this is where Joe Sway is going to go,
great
with the rebounding.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, even today, like, the ball's slipping out of his hands a little bit. Like, he misses some of the putbacks in there. So all of a sudden that mitigates his effectiveness.
Oh, Bobby, he's about to lose his job, man. He's freaking out.
All right,
he's all right.
But let me get to – this is what the big question with Rob now. They're going to play the 76ers almost certainly round one. Embiid will be playing 35, 40 minutes in there, so like there really won't be a lot of other centers rotating in for them. Is he able to pound with Embiid? Is he able to play the way he wants against Embiid out there? That's going to be the question, because we've seen Boston use Cantor as the muscle out there against Embiid. It's a good matchup for him. He doesn't have to run out to the perimeter a lot. Is he going to be able to play in that matchup?
Interesting that you mentioned that, because Embiid today
left the update on that.
He's been ruled out for the rest of the game.
I saw that. Yeah.
So he the Sixers are certainly in a weird place right now.
Jeez, when it rains, it pours, man.
Right, because obviously you had the Simmons is out, and today he left the game with a foot ankle injury, and he's not coming back against Portland. So now you're out both these guys. Simmons is likely done for the year, and again, depending on the outcome of this game, they could fall further. They could fall a game behind Miami and Indiana into that 6th slot, which would line up the Celtics. So again, this is kind of where I wanted to pivot off of this game into tonight. Embiid or not, do you want Philly at this point? Is this who the Celtics want to see?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're the Celtics, you're saying, yes, please, we will take that. And if you're Philadelphia 76ers, you're saying, let's pump the brakes here. Let's just, I don't know. Again, we don't know the severity of this, but if it's anywhere close to significant, you're shutting down Embiid. What's the point of sending him back out there and you're risking your top guy, your franchise player,
coach's job
to get bounced out of the first round? Yeah, I'm sorry, Brett Brown. I mean, you can start running your very important if you need to, but that might be the next step here for the Philadelphia 76ers franchise.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I mean, it's tough to speculate. It's tough to speculate. Let's look at it. Hold on. I got the video.
Very important. The Sixers already missing Ben Simmons in light of all of this. The scramble there, Joel Embiid shaken up on the play, going for a loose ball against Zach Collins, and during the timeout, Joel.
That was it.
Looked like
kind of a little, just stepped funny, was kind of awkward, went to the bench, didn't like it, went into the locker room. That was it. And left the game. That was it. So again, we don't know the severity, but this is a guy who you're always worried about anything. And with a guy that big, stress fracture, stress reaction, who knows? He might have just rolled an ankle. He could be fine. So it's interesting to see what happens there. But he was ruled out of the game. So I guess we'll get an update after that one is done. But yeah, I mean, they're
they're this mix of sense of urgency and, as you say, Josue, like they got to manage these guys for the future, especially a guy like Embiid who's been so hurt. But there's that urgency too, and there's so much pressure on them. I feel like the coach, the guys involved, are we going to get traded if this thing falls apart in the first round? And there was already so much tension between these guys. So like this is like we've compared it a million times to the 19 Celtics. You want that because, you know, forget how they're going to play X's and O's. They can't even figure out what's going on behind the scenes, it feels like there. And, you know, Indiana, we've had a fair amount of conversations about them, but TJ Warren's going off right now. They're big. They still got a guy like Miles Turner out there who can challenge you inside. They play slow, so, you know, they might be able to limit the amount Boston gets out in transition.
Right.
Like, there's no doubt to me that you want Philly at this point.
I agree. I mean, look, one, you want it because you want to stuff it down Philly fans' throats. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, you want to end that whole era.
Yeah. And so, you want to be that when LeBron left Cleveland and he takes off his shirt and he goes down the tunnel, and you're like, we ended LeBron in Cleveland. We ended this.
Have you guys seen?
And you want to end the process right here. It would be great. Just the nail in the coffin of the process.
You just said it, and it's end the process.
The process is over. Right.
Someone wrote a book about the process already. I saw it on Amazon the other day. I'm like it hasn't even begun yet. Like they didn't even get into their successful era and like the culmination of what they were trying to do there. Like it's going to end before it begins. It feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the guy's probably just saying this is probably as good as it's going to get. It's all downhill from here. So let me.
Last year was.
I want to hear from Philly fans. I want to hear from Philly fans in this stream. If anybody's out there, we got one guy he thinks Embiid's done.
Oh yeah, no question. He doesn't even want to be there to begin with. He's like, I'm out. I am done. Pack my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder. Anything else on tonight's game? We did talk about it briefly, but I did think that FULTZ.
He looked good.
FULTZ was awesome tonight. Yeah, for them. And he was exactly what you thought he was, minus the shot coming in. But that great ability that FULTZ has to get wherever he wants to go, he really showed it tonight. He looked. I mean, again, this is more salt in the wound for Philly fans after having just punted on FULTZ here without ever seeing it all the way through. He looked, again, I don't know if he's ever going to reach all-star level, but I would take this guy on my team.
You know who he reminds me of? Rondo. I mean, I saw him in Orlando like right before the season got suspended in March, and he's got the behind-the-back passing. He controls the offense, the pace. He gets to the rim, and there's no three-point shot, but he still makes it work. Like I see so much Rondo in him, frankly.
He was really assertive tonight. 18 field goal attempts, the second most on the team. Again, he wasn't afraid to take a jumper to the 10 dimes. That was a pretty impressive game by him.
I like how this comes into the Philly conversation too. He leaves, he's awesome. Trey Burke down in Dallas, he's awesome. There's a couple other examples there too. Something's just up there, and this was more of an indictment on Philly than it was on FULTZ all along. It feels
maybe. I mean, he was in his own head for sure, but he's definitely a guy. I think now that you feel that you've won that trade resoundingly because Tatum is Tatum, now you can root for FULTZ. Before, I felt that there was this real kind of shitty thing going on with Celtics fans that we wanted bad things. Celtics fans wished bad fortune upon FULTZ, which felt kind of gross. Because just to feel that you did the right thing and you won the trade. It's better if your guy just ends up being better as opposed to the other guy going through what FULTZ went through, which honestly must have been hell for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think it had everything to do with the fans more than the actual player. I just feel like FULTZ is just an innocent, innocent bystander in the beef between Sixers fans and Celtics fans, where it's like, the process we're taking it slow, and then what? The Celtics were in the playoffs for 1 year with the first year of Brad Stevens, and the Philadelphia 76ers sort of just been patient with Embiid's process. Or I didn't mean to do that, but yeah, pun intended, I guess. Progress, I should say. And then they expected this, FULTZ to be the final piece, and everything's just gone downhill since.
Yeah, that's rough. Reminder to everybody, we're doing this every game. Check us out on the YouTube channel. And as always, feel free to submit your comments in here. We're still waiting for Philly fans to get involved here. A lot of Rob Williams talk. People are pretty excited. Anything else, guys, before we wrap up tonight?
Last two games, what do you do? Just kind of pack it in, rest some guys, or they going for 6-2?
Josue, what do you think?
Keep rolling. Yeah, keep that momentum going. The playoffs feels like.
I'm glad it ends with Washington.
How quickly it's going to come up.
Yeah, so I think you roll for Memphis and then sit everybody for DC. That's how I would go with this.
Well, you want to knock Memphis out too, right? Have a shot in the lottery.
Yes, huge game. I'm glad you brought that up. So that's ginormous.
There's still a little something there. Plus, also Phoenix and Portland are both better.
Phoenix.
They're more fun. Phoenix is a great story. If you don't want Phoenix to get into that 8th spot, then something's wrong with your soul.
I'm so glad you brought that up too with the pick, because if you knock that up like 2 spots or so, whatever it would be, if you knock them out, this is going to be, considering like where the Celtics are right now, one of the more important picks of the Ainge tenure. So you want to get that as high as you can.
It's the last thing they've got. It's the last asset, and then after that, the cupboard is bare, and you've got what you've got. Mm-hmm. So it is what it is. I mean, you could theoretically, you knock them into the lottery. They could theoretically win the lottery, jump into top 3. Then you kick that can forward down the road one more year and then roll the dice and see. I don't know that they're going to roll all the way back into lottery land going forward if they keep getting top picks. But, that's always a possibility. Certainly, if you can, you want to see them finish a little bit lower and out of that 8th seed. So you've got some sort of shot there. All right, guys, I think that's it. Closing thoughts, we're good?
Yeah, we're good, man.
Wrap it.
Good. This team looks good.
Good
this
win.
Team looks ready to roll.
Yeah, good win.
Not beating up on Dame Lillard, man. He's just trying to. I don't know what he's trying to do, actually.
Yeah. 122, 119. Josue Pavone, heavy.com. Bobby Manning, Celtics blog, and CLNS Media. We will be back Tuesday. Which one's Tuesday? Is Tuesday Memphis?
Memphis, yeah.
Tuesday for the Memphis game, which I think that time just got moved.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. So it's early.
They haven't announced the last one yet.
Yeah, right? Set your alarms. Okay, we'll see you guys